Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Sara Gottfried, author of the New York Times bestselling Hormone Cure. I am here with one of my BFFs, Alisa Vitti. She just published the book WomanCode, and I can't wait to share her with you. Hello, Alisa.
Hello, Sarah. So exciting to chat with you. Congrats on the book, and it's just so cool. We have books out at the same time. I just love that.
It's cool, and I just want to dive deep into your book in a short amount of time. So, I feel like your title really describes how we all have our own biology embedded in a code, and you have figured this out for women. So can we start there? What do you mean by your title?
Yeah, WomanCode is this idea that I have been living with for 15 years that, embedded in our bodies is this perfect blueprint for healthy eating and healthy living, that all we have to do is lean into it and work with it, and then, we'll get our bodies working for us and have our hormones be something that are, not this thing that we're fluctuating and struggling with, but really something that we can rely on and leverage to not only feel good all month long, but also just start to really enjoy creating all sorts of great change in our life.
I love that. And I love that you're changing the conversation about women, fertility, hormones, food as information, the central role of your fork. And for you, I want to share with our listeners how you were on that path, right? You were Johns Hopkins, planning to be an OBGYN, and then suddenly things changed for you. You had a defining moment. Can you share that story with us?
Sure. I mean, I was never looking for my period to become the holy grail of my life, but, these things happen. And, I was at Hopkins, it's true, I'm a science nerd, and, I found myself in the midst of a real serious hormonal breakdown. I was classic presentation of sort of the worst case scenario with PCOS. So I was 200 pounds, I was covered face, chest, and back in cystic acne. I wasn't getting my period maybe once or twice a year. Exhausted, depressed, fatigued, isolated, confused, frustrated. And when I finally did figure out, researching in the medical library one night what it was that I had, and then went and got the confirmatory test the next day, I thought, okay, great, now I know I have something, we can fix it. And that's when I really bumped into the limitation that Western medicine had around issues like this. And because you're a GYN yourself,
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let me take my very expensively trained mind and go figure this out and see if I can use some of the exciting things that are happening in epigenetics and nutritional genomics and chronobiology and endocrinology, and kind of mix it all together in my own recipe and put a system together for myself to heal. And then when I saw the results in my body, I love sharing about the skin, because people come up to me all the time and they're like, your skin. And I'm like, yeah, look at it, because it used to be, just tragic situation. And, losing 60 pounds is a really cool thing. And to do that all without effort, you and I were just talking about, being eggy, and this idea that you can receive good health. It's not something you have to fight for. It's your body's, organic design. You can change your hormonal destiny with food, and to bear witness to that just became the most exciting thing that had ever happened to me. And so I thought, I have got to share this with other women. And that's how, 10 years ago, I have to keep adding years, maybe 11 years ago, I decided to open my center in Manhattan, and this is how that whole party got started.
Well, this is an incredible party. And, for our listeners, I imagine we have some people with polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, in our audience, because about 1 in 3 women struggles with this, and 70% are not diagnosed.
For long periods of time.
For long periods of time.
Yes.
They don't know why they have this uphill battle when it comes to their weight, or why, every single thing they try for their acne doesn't work. So I think it's so important to offer a nutritional approach, one that's proven and systematized like yours. And I also think that, so many folks who get diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome are offered the latest pharmaceutical. They're offered the metformin.
Right.
Why don't you take this nice birth control pill, which, oh, by the way, shrinks the clitoris by up to 20%. So
among many other things. We should do a whole other conversation about oral contraception, you and I. But, you know, but it is. And I think women, you know, we want more than just a quick fix. And also we know for sure that we can't spot treat the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance. And yes, although, you know, there may be many women on this call with PCOS, one of the things that I learned early on in my practice was that the way the endocrine system functions works across the board for whether or not you're dealing with PCOS or fibroids or endometriosis or infertility or low libido, postpartum depression. All of these things have the same root causes from the worldview of the endocrine system. And so we need a food approach that's going to get at that root cause and then allow the body to do its own job of recovering and restoring proper hormonal function. You know, we can't make that happen. That's kind of what's wrong with endocrinology in a lot of ways, right? You go in with sluggish thyroid function. If it's, you know, subclinical or whatever, if it's off the range, then you take a pill to get the range back within, you know, lab range. But this is not actually healing why the thyroid is off in the first place. And now all of a sudden you're stuck. You're stuck in a vicious cycle of medications, and the body responds in all sorts of ways that are not how we would prefer. And I think it's just really important to have a new framework of thinking, which is your first line of defense when you hear, you know, your first time that something's off with your hormones. Don't wait and do nothing and think, okay, I'll just wait till I'm bad enough that I have to take medication. Your first reaction should be, let me get the code, let me get the food right, let me start to do my part to help my endocrine system function the way that it should, so that these symptoms can clear up and really come from that place, and you really will never go wrong.
I love that. You know, one of the things I've written about in the Hormone Cure is that you got to meet your cure in the middle. And these pharmaceuticals do not offer you a cure. They're masking symptoms. We're kind of madly in love with masking symptoms, and that is old school healthcare. We've got to reform this entire healthcare system. So I'm hoping we could maybe share a few tips with our listeners today. And I also just wanted to say, for those of you who are listening who maybe have polycystic ovarian syndrome or endometriosis or fibroids, many of these problems are not just in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. They are actually issues that are lifelong, from in utero until the day you die.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to understand that this message has very far-reaching consequences. In
fact, the National Institute of Health came out with a study in 2009, the BioCycle study, which I'm sure you're familiar with, which really showed that issues of hormonal imbalance from young ages, teens, 20s, have long-term repercussions for overall health in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond in terms of the diseases of inflammation. So this thing that we joke about, PMS, or, you know, this thing that we now assume is normal, going for infertility treatments, or that postpartum depression is a big part of, you know, having a baby, etc. That we have this mindset is really a disservice to us, because it doesn't set us up for a long, healthy life. And that's what we all deserve as women. And we deserve to feel good now, all month, and all life long.
Amen, sister.
Amen.
Give us some tips. Get us into action, and then we're going to buy your book.
Yay. Okay, so, you know, I think the first thing that I love to start women on is let's break the blood sugar roller coaster problem, because it's the first place that the endocrine system starts to go off in the way that it prefers to perform. So let's do one simple change. Don't have caffeine on an empty stomach in the morning. I know this is a big thing. I know it's a big crutch for a lot of women. I know because a lot of women are also dealing with adrenal fatigue. It's the way that they sort of get going. Have breakfast first, then you can have your coffee to start. I'm going to get you off of the coffee eventually, but in the meantime, just switch up the timing of it. Will do you a huge value add in terms of blood sugar stability and adrenal health all day long, and help with, you know, any insomnia that you might be dealing with. I like to do the one thing that's going to move the needle the most, and if you make this one switch, that's a huge needle mover for your endocrine system.
I love that. I love that. And I sometimes will talk about that cup of coffee first thing in the morning as the high-interest loan against your adrenal glands. So you and I are totally on the same page about this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and then when we move into the adrenals, another thing that I love women to do is just like pack their day with sunflower seeds, full of vitamin B and zinc that are really just going to help support the adrenals perform the way that they should. I also love women to boost their levels of kale throughout the day for their liver metabolizing estrogen. And of course, it's again, it's another nutritional multiple bang for your buck because you're getting the 3-indole carbinol and the sulforaphane from the kale that's helping your liver do its job, but then you're also getting the soluble fiber that's moving the broken down estrogen out through the bowel as quickly as possible. It's a really important thing to do. You can eat to support the way your hormonal system functions, and that's really fun. So that's kind of like the healing portion, and then I like to move women into this sort of thriving portion of using their hormones, and this is where I use my cyclical program to get women, out of that vicious cycle of hormonal fluctuations to what I like to call a delicious cycle of hormonal vibrancy. And, it's what I talked about on Dr. Oz, this idea that you have these 4 distinct hormonal ratios within your 30-day cycle, and you want to be eating and organizing your activities to leverage the natural energy and direction that those biochemical and neurochemical shifts provide, right? So this can have implications in the food that you're eating, not only to boost hormonal performance, but also help break down hormones more efficiently, but also how you exercise, what kind of sex you're having, the kind of things you're doing and prioritizing in your career, the way you're communicating in relationships, all of that. You can start to lean into those hormonal fluctuations and use them for your benefit so that you're not really trying to work against what your hormones are trying to do. Instead, you're starting to go downstream and start to have them be something that is not a liability, but a real tool to get you in a position to be a change agent in your life.
I love that. Love it, love it, love it. So I want people to buy your book.
This is what it looks like.
WomanCode.
Love
There
it.
we are. And I'm going to include on this page, I'm going to include a link for people to check you out, check out some of the programs, including this awesome system that you've developed for people to balance their hormones. And if they do that, they get the book for free. Can you just mention a little bit about that awesome program that you have?
Yeah, it's the WomanCode system online, and, we launched that last year, and we have thousands of women in 6 continents using it. Think of it like Rosetta Stone for your ovaries. You're going to log in, you get the whole program and protocol from the convenience of your own home, and it's really a way for you to get into hormonal alignment in a very convenient way, and I think we need a high-tech solution for an ancient problem. So I'm really proud to have put that out there and really excited for women to be accessing it. If you have an internet connection and an ovary, I want you to have access to the WomanCode system. So log on and check it out and see if it's something that would serve you.
I love that. I love it. And so you've started a revolution, Alisa, and I love that about you. And you're really, I think, making it so much easier for women to step into the grace of hormonal balance. So I want to thank you so much for sharing this information, for publishing this important book, for offering WomanCode online. Any last things you want to share with my tribe?
Oh, just that it's, so wonderful. I think, you and I having this conversation is such a revolutionary act itself, that we have an integrative nutritionist like myself and an integrative MD like yourself thinking about a new model of healthcare for women that's feminine-based. Here we are talking about the medical perspective, the food perspective, and we're including all of you who are listening, you, the end user of this information, the 3 of us as a trifecta. We're going to move and shift the way women's healthcare is experienced, and that's just so exciting, and I'm just so thrilled that I have the best friends to hang out with and do this with, like you, Mama, and just so excited to be chatting with your tribe, and I know how savvy and interested in these issues all of you women are in the Hormone Cure community. So thank you for listening, and I hope that I can serve you in any possible way to feel fabulous.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Alisa Vitti. So happy to be with you today. This is Dr. Sara Gottfried. You can find me at saragottfriedmd.com. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today.